how I made a card with the cute little stamp set called Let's Go Shopping. It's actually a bundle from the current Stampin' Up! Annual catalog, and it's got some coordinating paper with it called, and I'm not French speaking, so I'll probably not say it exactly right, but I believe it said Les Shops, I think is what the name of it is. So again, I apologize. You know, French is not my native language, so I'm just making it up as I go. So, all right. So this is the card, and it's a pretty quick and simple little one. A lot of the work is done actually by the Designer Series paper on it, and this Designer Series paper pack is one of them that's on sale this month during June. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in just one second. But yeah, this is the card, pretty quick and simple. A little bit of stamping, a little coloring, a little die cutting, and it'll be all done. So hey, Carol, thanks for joining today. I appreciate you being here. So this is the stamp set, and Pam looks like it's hopping in as well, so thanks for joining. So this is a stamp set, and it's just got some fun images in it, some cute sentiments, fun things for a friend, to invite somebody out to lunch, you know, anything like that. It's just, like I said, it's kind of a fun, there's a birthday sentiment, everything in it. So I see Mary Kay's here, Melanie, Karen, Marilyn, thanks so much for joining. I appreciate you being here. So it's photopolymer, so it's really easy to stamp with. Again, I say that ahead of time before I do the stamping with it. Hopefully I'll be able to get everything stamped straight. But it's a cute little set. So I will set that aside, and you know what? I didn't. Okay, I thought for a second I hadn't put the stamps on the block and had a moment, but I did. So, and then, hey, Bonnie, thanks for joining. And hey, Linda, I'm glad you're here for the first time. So this is the die set that coordinates with it. Again, it's called Let's Go Shopping. And this one cuts out the top part of the little building, the stamped image. This will cut out the bottom part. And then this will cut the windows. This one cuts a little, like a sign on a shop. This cuts the door out if you wanted to do that. Whoops, this one cuts the door out, I apologize. The window out on the door. This one cuts out the window. There's plants, the little sandwich board thing. This one will cut out something if you want it to look like a little bit of greenery along the edge of your building, lamppost, bench, and then a couple little canopies. And this actually cuts out these little light images in here if you want that. So it's a cute little set. Like I said, I love it. So lots of fun. One other thing that I did use on this card is the Stylish Shapes dies. I used the kind of, I don't know, the shorter, wider banner die, and I'll show you. I actually cut the sentiment out with it and then trimmed it down a little bit with that same die, so I'll show you how I did that as we go through the video. So all right, couple things before we get going on the card. Stampin' Up! During the month of June has some really good promotions going on. If you are not currently a demonstrator, you should definitely consider joining. The starter kit deal right now is an excellent one. You pay $99 plus tax if that applies in your area. The kit will ship for free, and you get to pick $155 worth of Stampin' Up! Merchandise of your choice. So it's a pretty awesome deal. If you're not a demonstrator already, definitely consider signing up. You get at least a 20% discount on all of your orders that you place as a demonstrator. Plus, you get to be part of Stampin' Up! And part of our team. And so if you have any questions about it, let me know. The details are posted on my blog, so if you want to go and do a little digging around beforehand, head over to stampwithamyk.com, and you can find a link to the promotion details. Drop me an email if you have any questions about it. I'd love to talk with you more. Hey, Judy, thanks for hopping in today. Designer Series paper sale. I already talked a little bit about that. There are 13 packs of Designer Series paper that are on sale for 15% off during the month of June, and they're all from the new annual catalog, or newer, I guess it's a month old now. So 13 packs of paper. Again, the details are all on my blog, and paper we're using today is this one, and it's actually one that's on sale this month. So yay, always happy to get things on sale. And then online exclusives, there are some new ones that are going to be coming in July. So July 6th, these will be available. There are some Christmas things, definitely. We can't see all of them yet. We've been able to pre-order a couple of things. So there's the Horse and Sleigh Stamp Set Bundle, the One Horse Open Sleigh 6x6 Designer Series paper, and the Adhesive Back Snowflakes assortment, as well as the Timeless Charm Bundle. These are all definitely in the online exclusives that are going to be coming up here July 6th. Demonstrators can pre-order them, and if you join during the month of June, you can actually add these items to your starter kit as well, so that's a pretty awesome deal too. Let me know if you have questions about that. Again, any of the all the details for those promotions are on my blog today. They'll be on there tomorrow when I add the details about this card, so you'll be able to check them all out then. All right, did a little bit of cutting ahead of time. Oh, one thing I forgot to say, there are a couple of images, not very many, on this Designer Series paper that you can actually cut with the dies. So this one, of course, is one of the images that actually fits. So this one you can cut. It's like the blueprint looking side of the designer series paper. There's one of the little shops that you can cut out with this die. So, and I just discovered that as, I was messing around trying to figure out what cut what out. And then there is another piece of the designer series paper that actually has a little sandwich board on it and another piece that has the plants on it. And there are dies that coordinate with both of those in the die set. So, all right. And I just threw my dies all over the floor. Oi, oi. And of course, they're the dies that I need. Oy. That's what happens when I try to be prepared. Okay, I think I found them all. Hopefully I did. If there are pieces, hopefully they didn't skitter underneath anything, but we'll figure it out. Okay, so did a little bit of cutting ahead of time. This is again from the Lace Shops Designer Series paper pack, and this piece is cut to, I cut it about 3 inches by about 4 7/8. 5 1/8, I'm sorry, not 4 7/8. So it's 5 1/8 inches by about 3 inches, and this is a piece of gray granite cardstock that is cut to about 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to adhere the blueprinty looking piece on first, and with a little bit of Stampin' Seal. And I'm just going to line it up so that it's even or fairly even on the 3 sides, top, bottom, and top and bottom. Right, left, and top is what I'm trying to say. All right, there we go. And then I've got a little piece. This one's cut to about 1 inch by about 5 1/8. And again, this is just another piece of that same Designer Series paper pack. And we're just going to use a little Stampin' Seal to adhere that on. And I'm just going to stick it down here on the bottom. They are going to overlap a little in the middle. And I did that intentionally because I wanted to make sure there wasn't a gap in between the two. And since this is supposed to look a little like background, it didn't matter to me that it was covered up a little on the bottom. So, all right. Next thing we're going to do is a little bit of stamping. Let me grab. Actually, let's go ahead and stick it on the card front before I forget to do that. I'm kind of a mess today, goodness. So my younger daughter, it was her last day of school for the school year, and so it was a half day today. So I'm all in my routine, worse than normal. And I'm sticking a couple little half Stampin' Dimensionals here on the back of this. So, hey, Judy and Vicky, thanks for hopping in. If I didn't, I don't know, hopefully I didn't say hi twice. If I did, that's okay. I'd rather say twice than not at all. So, all right. Oh, let me pick all the backings off here. And then we'll stick this to the card front. This is a Granny Apple Green card base, and this one is cut to 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 and scored in the middle at 4 1/4. And again, just going to line it up here and try to get it fairly straight and even. Now we're going to do a little stamping. So I've got a piece of basic white cardstock, and it's just a leftover chunk from some other project I was working on. And we're going to pull out the Tuxedo Black Memento ink and a couple of these stamps. This one is the kind of little bit more square looking shop. So, hey Beverly, thanks for joining. And again, Tuxedo Black is what we're using. So I'm just going to ink that up and hopefully get it good and inky here. Good and inky. I was going to say good and stampy. That doesn't make any sense. All right, and we're just going to stamp it here. I just stuck my fingers in it. Stamp it on the basic white cardstock. And then I'm actually going to stamp it a second time, and I'll show you why I'm doing that in 1 second. Because it took a lot less brain power, that I will say. That's the main reason for it. Hey, Jean Ann, thanks for joining. And then I'm going to take the little top part of the building and going to ink that up as well in Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And I guess it doesn't really matter how I stamp it on here. I'll stamp it on here 2 times as well. All right. There we go. All right. The next thing I'm going to stamp, I did forget to put one of these on a block. The little lights. So hang on. Let me get a block out here, and I'll probably have to... trying to decide which block maybe I'll just grab this one. Ugh. Pardon my long reach. All right, I think this one will work. Maybe. All right, yep, that one will work. Okay, so the reason I stamped this twice is because I'm actually going to stamp the little lights and the table image on one of the two, not the other, because I'm actually going to be die cutting out the windows on the other one. So I wanted to make sure that I had it stamped in the right place. So I'm just going to cut them out and layer them one on top of the other, and that'll make sure that everything is in the spot that it should be in when I get the die cuts all laid out. Because I couldn't figure out any other way to do it, I was looking at it and trying to figure out, could I just stamp it on a plain piece of paper? And then I discovered that I couldn't because I couldn't figure out spacing-wise where in the world to stamp stuff. So this is what I came up with. So again, the lazy way to do it, just stamp it twice and cut it out twice, and then you're all set. All right, so let's start doing a little bit of coloring here. I'm going to get Granny Apple Green to start with. These are Stampin' Blends markers, and we're just going to color with the light Granny Apple Green first. We're going to color the door frame. I guess this is the door, not the frame. Goodness. All right. Hopefully y'all are enjoying your Tuesday. It's kind of a beautiful day here in New Jersey. Sunny. It's definitely starting to feel a little like summer, but we're still a little cooler. So, I mean, like, I didn't really need long sleeves this morning, but it definitely felt okay to have them on. And then, of course, this afternoon I got hot, so then I had to switch to short sleeves. So, all right, so that was light Granny Apple Green. And then I'm going to come back in with the dark Granny Apple Green, and I'm just going to color in what I think is supposed to be the little mail slot, or I don't know, maybe a sign. I'm not sure what it is. I just colored it with dark Granny Apple Green. And then, oh, and I forgot the window frame. So we're going to color that as well in Granny Apple Green. There we go. Quick and easy. So, all right, and if you're leaving comments, I apologize. Coloring and trying to read comments don't work out very well for me. I have enough trouble coloring as it is. All right, next up, I have got Daffodil Delight, and we are going to use that to color in the top of the buildings. And actually the top of the other one as well. So just going to color in the kind of the, I don't know. Again, I'm not the building words. We'll just call it the top of both of the buildings. Oh, and I'm coloring in the wrong one. Never mind, I didn't mean to color that one in. This is the one that I was trying to color. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not right. That one, we won't see it anyway. But anyhow, just a little extra ink on the paper. So, all right. And then I've got dark Daffodil Delight. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed the pictures. So, and then I almost colored it on the wrong one again. See, that's what happens when I start talking and reading comments and not paying attention to what I should be doing, which is coloring. Here we go. All right. So Daffodil Delight dark, and then I'm going to grab a little of the light again and just sort of blend in the edges a bit. So there's hopefully not a harsh line on it. And then do the same thing over here. All right, there we go. Then I'm going to grab Gray Granite, I think is the one that I'll do next. And we're going to color in the little step down here and the sign. And I need to make sure I have the light one and not the dark to start with. So weather's perfect in Maryland. Yeah, I know. It's actually, yes, I don't mind having to wear the long sleeves in the morning and then short sleeves in the afternoon. That's kind of good weather for me as well. So I don't like it to be too hot. Summertime is too much, especially with the humidity. Ugh, nobody likes that. So, all right, I've got dark Gray Granite and just coloring a little bit here on the sign and on the steps. And again, I'm just going to come back in with the light and blend them together just a little so there's not a harsh line there. And let's see. Then I need to color the little window in. And again, I'm sure there's some technical term for that. I'll just call it the window. And I've got light petal pink. That is what I'm going to be using to color in the kind of the framing part up at the top. And around the edges here. All right. And then I'm going to take dark petal pink to color in the little center dot. There we go. And then I'm going to color the table and chairs here. So Balmy Blue is the color I'm going to start with. And again, I'm just going to do the light and the dark pieces, sort of like I've been doing all the way along here. So just going to color in light for the main part of the seats. And then I'll use dark around the frame. There we go. So, and again, dark Balmy Blue. That's what I'm coloring in the edge here with. Try to stay in the lines, and if I don't, I get too crazy. I can always grab my color lifter and shove the color back in the lines. The one thing about doing kind of the tone-on-tone coloring like this is if you don't get it colored perfectly and things get a little squirrely and you get a little bit on the spot where you didn't mean to, it usually blends together pretty nicely and nobody notices anyway. All right, then I've got light crumb cake that I'm going to color the table with. At least I thought that was light. Yep, it is. For a moment, I thought I was coloring with dark, but it's a lot darker. You'll notice the difference. And then I'm going to come back and add a little bit of dark crumb cake. Just going to put it underneath the little table or underneath the menu and a little bit underneath the table to make it look like there's a little bit of shadow, but whether I'm very successful at that, I don't know. Then I've got light and dark, no, I used, gray granite. I need to go back to that one for the little menu here. There we go. And then the windows windows, the lamps, the lights are the next thing I need to color. And I use Calypso Coral on those. So again, starting with the light, and I'm going to put just get color on the whole thing with the light Calypso Coral. And then I'll come back in with the dark and add a few little shadows and then blend them together if I need to. So just adding a little shadow here around the edges. And then I'll come back in with the light and smush them together a little bit so that hopefully you don't get any harsh lines. All right, there we go. Oh, hey, I'm glad you caught me live, Melissa. And then the last thing that I need to do is color in the windows. And I keep pointing to the wrong one. Hopefully I'll color in the right door window and the right windows. So I'm going to use Light Pool Party. And I'm just going to kind of scratch the color on. This doesn't need to be perfectly colored. Just because it kind of will all blend together in the end anyway. So if it gets a little out of hand or you don't color perfectly, that is quite all right. Again, especially on this one because it's a lot of it's going to be hidden anyway. So, all right, filling in a little bit of Pool Party here around the pretty little window frame and then around the chairs and the table. All right, we're almost done with the coloring part, which is the part that takes the longest on this card. And again, it's not really even difficult coloring, just a little smaller images, so it takes just a second longer. Because normally I'm just like colors on, but this one I have to actually color around a few things. So, all right, so I think we are done officially with all the coloring on it. So, hey, France, thanks for hopping in. So now we're going to switch to die cutting, and hopefully this is the disaster that is my die set after I threw it on the floor and dies went flying everywhere. So hopefully I'll be able to find all the right die pieces to cut everything. All right, so this one I'm going to use to cut out the larger building. This one I'm going to use to cut out the top of the building. And then this is for the set of 3 windows in here. And then this one is going to be for the larger window in here. So I'm going to do all of this die cutting. Hopefully run it all through at one swing. It may take me 2 depending on whether my dies decide to cooperate or not. And then these 2, I'm actually going to, I know you'll about fall out of your chairs, but I'm going to snip them out with the scissors. And I will show you again my fantastic snipping skills as I do that. So hold on, let's get the die cutting done first. All right. We'll see if I can get it done in one swing or if it's going to misbehave. I may have to do it in 2. Oh, there we go. Come on. All right. So fine, I'll just do 1. Hopefully it won't slide. All right, so there is the larger of the images that I cut out with the 2 dies, the window die. Now I'm going to run it back through with the other one. And get the other die set up on here. Come on. All right, and there is the other one. So we've got the two die cuts done here. So Not sure about the set, but as much as you like, yeah, it's a cute little set. Like I said, I was hoping that more of the designer series papers would be able to be cut with the dies, but they aren't. But the good news is that they're kind of, I mean, I can even fussy cut the ones on the paper, so they're pretty easy to fussy cut. So keep that in mind if you're going to get the paper. Just be aware that there aren't too many that actually you can cut with the dies, but they're pretty easy to fussy cut. So I will again show you my fantastic fussy cutting skills, which is basically just hacking the paper. And I just want to get this cut so that it's a little bit smaller than the actual die cut, so that it's not going to show around the edges. So that's all I'm trying to do, is just cut it just a hair smaller than the actual stamped image, so that I can maneuver it around and not have to trim off a whole bunch once I stick them together. All right, there we go. All right, now I'm going to grab some Stampin' Dimensionals. Again, I cut mine in half. You'll want to either use the minis or cut your Stampin' Dimensionals in half like I do, if you want to recreate this, just because the regular dimensionals are a little too big for this project. I found the half-size ones to fit really nicely, so that's what I used. And I know people like their mini Stampin' Dimensionals, and if you love those, then great, you can definitely use them. But if you like to cut them in half like I do, they work great this way too. So let me pick off the backings here. So, all right, there we go. And then I'm going to find my piece here that I half colored and didn't color the whole thing, and just layer them one over the top of the other so that the little window peek through is showing. All right, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm just going to take the little Stampin' Dimensionals, stick them between the windows and a couple around the edges, and then we'll stick it right on the card front. Oop, that one's going to be a little bit too big right there. I can see that already. And then I think we'll stick another one. Maybe we'll put it up here as well. And we will call that good. That'll be plenty of adhesive to stick it on here with. All right, and flip that over. And then again, just layer them one over the top of the other. Whoop. Try to get it on there straight, she says, as she's sticking it on here totally crookedly. Come on, Amy. Some days my fingers and brain work well together, and other days not so much. There we go, that's a little better. All right, so then you got the little peek through, and it kind of looks a little 3D. You can cut the door if you want to, and I realized I didn't color the door. Yikes. So here I was thinking I was all done on the coloring. Got one more piece. Just want to color in what would be the glass on the door, again with light pool party. And just do a speedy quick. Color around the edges here. All right, I think we'll call that good. Yikes, I knew something didn't look right about it, so there you go. So, all right, back to the card front. My Stampin' Seal there it is completely gone because I have stuff everywhere. Just gonna take that and stick it here on the card front. And again, placement doesn't really matter. You can put it kind of wherever you want it. I wanted it to look like it was sitting on the street a little bit, so I lowered it down a little bit. And then I'm going to take the other one, do the same thing, just put a little adhesive on the top of it. If you prefer liquid glue, you can definitely use liquid glue. Stampin' Seal is my favorite, so that's why I use it. And I'm just going to take that and slide it right underneath. Try to get it lined up so that it's fairly straight. And there we go. We got the hardest part of the card all done. Did a little die cutting ahead of time. So this is cut from gray granite cardstock, and I used the lamppost die, which clearly is still somewhere on the floor. Oh boy. Get there. I swear there is a lamppost die that will cut this. But yeah, it's laying somewhere on the floor. I don't know where yet. I'll find it eventually, probably when I roll my chair over it and go, oh, there it is. Now it's half flat. So I cut it from gray granite cardstock. And just going to use a little touch of liquid glue here on it, on the top and the bottom. And again, it's a little thin die cut, so it doesn't take a whole lot of glue to stick it down. And I'm just going to stick it here over the top of the designer series paper. So I hope my day will get better. Although once I got through some of the coloring and the die cutting, it's a little better. Hopefully I'm not completely making a mess of the card. So I just can't find anything because I've got too much stuff. So, all right, I'm going to take the little die cut plant, which I actually cut, again, from the Les Shops Designer Series paper. So there's one of the dies in the die set over here. This little die. There are two of these actually in the die set, and there are a bunch of these in the Designer Series paper, in one of the sheets of the Designer Series paper, so you can cut those out pretty quickly and easily with the little dies. You can snip them out too if you want to, but I never want to. If there's a die, I always do use the die. And I'm just going to stick that on over here next to my little shop. And then there's the little menu board or sandwich board or whatever you want to call it that was also cut from that same Designer Series paper pack, and I'm just going to stick a couple Stampin' dimensionals on the back of that. The only thing that I'm being a little aware of with my Stampin' dimensionals is because I knew I was going to overlap it on this building, and a little bit of this will be overhanging here as well. I just want to make sure I don't put Stampin' dimensionals right up to this edge, so that I don't end up with half of it stuck with two Stampin' dimensionals and half with only one. So that's kind of why I put the placement on there a little bit strangely. All right. There we go. Just have the sentiment left to go, and hopefully I won't mess that up. So, all right. I've got a piece of Calypso Coral cardstock and Versamark ink, and we got some white Stampin' Emboss powder. Then we're going to heat emboss this. So everybody cross your fingers that I don't make a mess of this, but you know, I probably will. It's a sentiment that says, "Wish you were here." And again, it's from the Let's Go Shopping stamp set. Just going to stamp it here on the Calypso Coral cardstock. And then grab the white embossing powder and sprinkle it over the top. Tap off the extra. Make sure I don't have any extra flecks on there. I got a few. There we go. And then I'm going to grab my heat tool and turn that on and get that heated up. So the Stampin' Up! Heat tool's got two settings on it. There is a level 1 setting for drying. So if you're doing something like watercoloring or using an ink that just takes a little longer to dry and you want to speed it up, you can use the level 1 setting. And the level 2 setting gets a little hotter, and it's for heat embossing. So it does take just a second to heat up. So that's why I'm holding it here, yakking away at you as I'm doing this. So just letting it heat up with the level 2 setting. And then I'm going to point it here at my sentiment and just wait for it to there you go, it's starting to turn. It'll get shiny and white, bright white, I should say. And that's it. You do want to give it just a second to cool off before you do any die cutting or anything with it, just because you can smear the ink if you aren't careful with it when it's still a little warm. So I'm just giving it a second to cool off before I do some die cutting. All right, so the die that I used is actually this one, and it's a little bit longer than what I wanted it to be. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide it over towards one side, and I'm going to die cut it once, and then I'll bring it back over and show you what I'm going to do to die cut the other half of it to trim it down just a little bit. So hang on a second, and I will be right back, and hopefully I won't roll over my little lamppost die wherever I find it. It's probably going to be underneath my huge cabinet that I have right behind me. But that's all right. All right. Okay, let's get this off here. All right, so I've got it die cut, and it's cut a little bit crazily crooked. I want to trim it down, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same die, and because it's got the little notches in it, the little stitches in it, I can basically just line it up and kind of slide it back and forth until it fits into one of the notches. And then I'm going to roll it through the die cutting machine about that far just to trim off this end, and then roll it back out. And we'll have a little smaller sentiment die cut. All right, so there we go. So that's what happens when you trim it twice. You can get just a little smaller die cut than what you normally would get. So that's a nice little trick that works really well with any of the kind of stitched dies. And you can use it with the flatter dies too, like the regular rectangles and squares, but it's really easy with the little stitch dies because they fit right into each other. And so you can just chop it, and there's no kind of figuring out if you're straight or not. You know that if the little dots line up, then you're all good. All right, let me grab some Stampin' Dimensionals, a few more here, and we will stick this onto the card front. And I can see there's a canopy die that I just saw as I was die cutting that's laying way across the room from me. I don't know how those dies go flying so far when you drop them, but they do. They kind of have an amazing ability to do that. So, all right, I'm going to tuck this sentiment in right over the top of my lamppost and a little bit over the edge of the building. And then I'm going to grab the rustic metallic adhesive back dots and stick 2 of those on. One of the larger ones down here, and then one of the smaller ones up here. And that's it for the card front. So pretty simple. I do need to bring back for the inside of the card. Sorry, I just banged into my camera. The stamps here, the 2 building stamps. I just crashed. Okay, maybe I should just start over today. I don't know. I'm banging into stuff, crashing into things. So I'm going to use my chamois and clean the stamps quickly because I'm going to stamp them in balmy blue instead of tuxedo black on the inside of the card. Let me grab my balmy blue ink pad. Oh, thanks, Karen. I'm glad you're liking the card. It was a lot of fun to put together. I kind of took a little inspiration out of one that I saw in the catalog, and I just made a few changes to it and made something that I thought was a little more fun. All right, so got the bottom of it stamped, and then I'm going to ink up the top part and come over here and stamp the top part. There we go. Like I said, they're photopolymer, so they're pretty easy to stamp with. I don't think I had too many stamping disasters, a few gluing disasters, a little, die disaster, but stamping went okay today. Coloring, probably not as well as it could go, but that's all right. There's color on everything, and that's the main thing. All right, gonna grab a little Stampin' Seal and adhere this to the inside of the card. And there we go. Just gonna fold it closed here, do a quick crease along the score line to make sure that we have a good solid crease on the card, and that's it. So this is a card that we made today. This is my card that I had made ahead of time. Turned out pretty similarly. Probably, I actually cut the sentiment a little bit shorter on this one. I realized that as I'm looking at them. But other than that, it's pretty much the same card. So they're really easy to stamp with. Easy to color. Again, I'm not an expert at coloring, but I can certainly do it, so anybody can. But yeah, that's it. I think you all really need it. See, Judy, yes, just don't even, yes, you need it. Of course you do. And then get a couple of the packs of the paper because, you're going to want that. And it's on sale and, you hate to lose money and, all that stuff. So I can talk myself into buying stamps and paper anytime. All right, that is all that I had for you today. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for putting up with the fumbling, and have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. I will plan to be back on Friday around 2 o'clock Eastern time, and then again next week, Tuesday around 2 o'clock Eastern time. So have a great rest of your week, and we will chat with you all soon. Oh, and don't forget all the details, including a PDF that you can print out, a tutorial for this card will be on my blog tomorrow, so you can find all the details there. I'll put a direct link to the blog post in this description of the video tomorrow when it goes live around 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. And that's all. I promise I'm really done this time. All right. Chat with y'all soon.